In my opinion, as long as we are remaining below this downward sloping resistance line, this is the prime accumulation area for Bitcoin. If you are interested in getting involved in the Bitcoin market or taking more positions, as long as we're holding below the downward sloping resistance, that is the time that you want to accumulate Bitcoin. And we could range anywhere within this area before getting that major breakout. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin Svenson, and today we're going to be looking at the price of Bitcoin. So a lot of the people who are watching my channel now should probably have realized that what we do here is we like to keep our eye on the macro swings. We like to keep our eye on the big picture to see where the major pivot points in the market are going to be coming in. So in today's video, we're going to discuss where the price of Bitcoin is most likely going to get that major pivot to the upside and when the next parabolic advance is most likely going to begin. So right now I'm on the CryptoWatch homepage. If I scroll down to the View Asset Cards tab list, which is right above the News tab, if I click on that tab, it'll bring me to a page that looks like this. This page gives you a general view of all the top crypto assets. It does look like a lot of the top coins are seeing some upside today. Now we're going to hop into the Bitcoin chart, BTC to USD here on Coinbase. And we can see that Bitcoin is still holding below this downward sloping resistance line. We are currently trading above the 21-week EMA, and that is a pretty bullish sign for Bitcoin. But what I want to look at once again here, guys, to give us a better idea of when Bitcoin is most likely going to be moving to the upside, I want to take a look at the last two halving periods to give us a better idea of when Bitcoin is most likely going to be moving to the upside. So we're going to go back to the first halving period in 2012 and take a look at what these parabolic advances looked like during the halving period. Now, this is the 2012 to 2013 halving period, and we can see that on both parabolic advances, Bitcoin does hold below a downward sloping trend, and right towards the point when Bitcoin does break above that downward sloping resistance line, that's when we start to see that major push to the upside, and we see a major bullish pivot in the price of Bitcoin once it breaks above that downward sloping resistance line. And if we go to the next halving period here in 2016 to 2017, we have these parabolic advances. They look very similar. And once Bitcoin starts to range above the downward sloping resistance, that's when you start to get your bullish moves to the upside. And if we just look at the halving period that we are in right now, Bitcoin does seem to still be below this downward sloping resistance line and has not yet pivoted above the downward sloping resistance. So in order to get a major change in Bitcoin, we need to get above the downward sloping resistance, and very likely over the next month, I would say we're still most likely going to be holding below the downward sloping resistance. But once you get a pivot above the downward sloping resistance, that is when your next parabolic advance begins. So definitely don't be surprised if you see Bitcoin ranging back down, getting some more rejection off of the downward sloping resistance. This is kind of expected at this point that Bitcoin would hang around this area before the major break. And it's possible that Bitcoin does pull back closer to the $8,500 level before we get a major rally out. I would just expect Bitcoin to see a little bit more resistance along this downward sloping resistance before we get that major breakout. But here's the thing, guys. Once you get that major breakout of the price of Bitcoin, once Bitcoin does get that major push to the upside out of the downward sloping resistance area, that's when Bitcoin starts to make progressive moves to the previous highs and then breaks those previous yearly highs. Once Bitcoin does range above that downward sloping resistance line, that's when you can expect the next major parabolic advance to take place before Bitcoin makes that next formation, before it looks to break the all-time high. Now, this next run, in my opinion, could be a test closer to the all-time high level if we are going to pull back and range back to the golden retrace once again. So looking at the daily chart right now, Bitcoin is holding support pretty well right now, and it's possible that we do test up to the downward sloping resistance before getting rejected once again. And in my opinion, it might take up until December before we get that major rally out of this area. It might take a month or two before we actually get that major push to the upside. In my opinion, as long as we are remaining below this downward sloping resistance line, this is the prime accumulation area for Bitcoin. If you are interested in getting involved in the Bitcoin market or taking more positions, as long as we're holding below the downward sloping resistance, that is the time that you want to accumulate Bitcoin. And we could range anywhere within this area before getting that major breakout. But once you get that major breakout, that is when you're going to start to see the FOMO kick in once again. And that's when you're going to see that large scale parabolic parabolic structure come back into the market. So as long as you're remaining below the downward sloping resistance, that is a prime opportunity for getting into Bitcoin. You know, one thing we've talked about heavily on this channel for the past few months as we were ranging in this descending triangle, one thing we talked about a lot was that once we hit the 618 golden retrace here at 7,500, off that bounce, we needed to see volume levels that were on par or exceeding previous levels. And we're looking at the 3-day chart right now, and these volume levels are definitely on par with previous levels. So in my opinion, this is an extremely healthy sign for Bitcoin, and it's very, very unlikely that Bitcoin would be breaking down from this point. This right here, I think, is a very unlikely scenario. To me, it seems like Bitcoin is getting that needed support and is looking for that next major break above the downward sloping resistance. So again, guys, once we get above this downward sloping resistance line, once we get above approximately $10,200, $10,300, then you're going to know at that point that Bitcoin is looking to range back up to the upward sloping resistance line for that next major parabolic formation before the all-time high break. Now, guys, a lot of the analysis that I do on this channel is quite repetitive because what I'm looking at is the long term. I'm looking at the macro swings here, and it's important to sort of go over the same analysis over and over again and watch the analysis come to fruition, and that's what we do here on this channel. On this channel, guys, we like to stay specific. We like to analyze the market closely. We don't change our minds every other video, and you know, we don't like to make super short-term calls. We like to give you the overall rundown on what's going to take place going into the future here. A lot of people have been giving me a lot of criticism about the fact that I do predictions on this channel. But you know, if you're trading in a market, if you're investing in a market, what you're doing is you're actually predicting. No matter what you're doing in this market, you're attempting to predict the market, right? If you're doing technical analysis, the only point of doing technical analysis is to predict what's going to happen. And guys, that is what I'm doing here on this channel. I'm giving you guys realistic predictions for the Bitcoin market, and very likely, if we break above this downward sloping resistance line, you know, it's likely that Bitcoin is going to be creating that larger scale parabolic formation once again and looking to range back to the $20,000 level. And right now, the volume does show me that that is a very realistic scenario at the moment. We're getting volume levels that are on par with previous levels, and we should be looking for that next major push to the upside. And you know, I just wanted to let you guys know that we could be trading sideways here for a little bit before getting that major break. And along the way, guys, we definitely want to hold above that 21 EMA. And that's going to be our major bullish moving average to hold above during the next major parabolic advance. So definitely keep all this in mind as you're trading this market. If you like this video, definitely smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and also make sure to sign up with the CryptoWatch platform, and I will see you all in the next video.